What you listening to, son?
When it comes to getting relief from skyrocketing gas prices, Americans shouldn't hold their breath. Prices at the pump have doubled since President Biden took office, and just this week, the national average reached $4.86. That's according to AAA data.
According to Goldman Sachs economists, the U.S. economy is expected to slow amid Fed rate hikes. They also believe a recession could be averted. Hopefully that is the case, but it does not look good. Those prices are, of course, not to make it all about me or complain relentlessly. This overlapping with the exact period in which I purchased a car for the first time in 10 years. Not good, not great.
Yeah, look, what's really frustrating is to look at the fact that efforts to address price gouging, which is driving some of the high gas prices, have been rejected. There was an effort about 3 weeks ago in the House to pass a bill that would address price gouging.
I mean, address price gouging
by offering some relief to people at the pump.
Okay.
And what happened was 0 Republicans backed it, and I gotta come for Democrats as well, because 4 Democrats, or rejected it rather, and 4 Democrats did as well, which people said, even though it passed the House, means it's gonna be doomed in the Senate. And this is the issue. If there were an alternative, if there were any alternatives promulgated by conservatives, I would take in good faith that they don't like the ideas that are being put forth by Democrats.
Drilling.
Well, that's the problem. Joe Biden is open to that and has actually opened more drilling. But as we've talked about repeatedly,
the Interior Department was giving out fewer leases this year.
Then what?
Because he's already giving out new leases.
Joe Biden has already opened up drilling wells, much to the chagrin of the left community. That's just a fact on the books. So, but moreover, none of that is going to address gas prices today, because it takes years and years for those lines to open and for production to start. Mm-hmm. So this is all, it's a lot of conservatives and conservative Democrats as well who have an investment in opening up fossil fuel development, making the case that we should open up fossil fuel development, not because they care about immediately helping Americans in the middle of a recession, but because they have these bigger political goals. That's fine. At the end of the day, there have been some efforts in California to simply give gas cards to people. There have been efforts to these price gouging efforts to make sure that there isn't the kind of corporate excesses and profit making that's happening on one end. And we have absolutely no conversation about how the country pushing this war in Ukraine is affecting our oil access as well.
Yeah, that's the major issue. And we talked about this on the show yesterday, how the Republicans, and not the majority of Republicans, but the only opposition to the proxy war with Russia in Ukraine, let's call it what it is among a minority of Republican political officials.
No. You're not just gonna fucking whoosh past that. Like you didn't just fucking say that. Proxy war with Russia? Bitch, please. Listen, are we probably making backup plans in case the Russia-Ukraine war fucking hits the fan? Yeah. Probably shit that we don't know about or aren't even considering. But at the same time, have we been supplying weapons to Ukraine? Yes. And not necessarily by our own volition. Pretty sure Zelensky asked us. And we said yes. I'm not going to talk about this like as if I'm the most expert opinion or the most educated on geopolitical conflicts. I'm not in any way. But proxy war, I know what you're hinting at. And it's fucking incorrect.
No, there are no Democrats, and most Republicans still are supportive, but the opposition that does exist is 99% Republicans.
That's true.
What do we make of that?
That's true. I don't know what to make of that, other than that the country is in a really
transformative.
Dark.
You say dark, I say transformative. But
no, because it's bad. Because overall, it's still the overall.
Doesn't that kind of hold up? Didn't he kind of tell on himself a little bit? okay, Brianna Joy Gray is Brianna Joy Gray. She's a dumb fuck. I'm so glad Bernie didn't win. It's not like she would have sunk his entire administration by her hand alone, but like she was about to be press sec for the Sanders administration if he were to win. Thank God he didn't win. But listen to the language that between her and the conservative of the new rising since Cristobal and Sagar left. Listen to this dichotomy.
The country is in a really
Transformative. You say dark, I say transformative. But we
Transformative. To the conservative here, America is in a transformative state right now. Given the schism between the right and the left and how bad it has gotten in this country, of course he would say it's transformative, because he's looking to transform the United States into something it isn't, it was never supposed to be, and never has been, has come close to a couple times, and that is something that panders to him and people like him. Authoritarianism.
Because it's bad, because overall, it's still the overwhelming majority of the country supportive of this proxy war.
Right.
To the indifference of the local population that is struggling mightily. And that indifference is bipartisan, even though, yes, it's disproportionately the people who are critical of it are on the right now. So that doesn't bode well. It doesn't bode well. And instead, we're having these kind of openly political debates. And I'm not going to sit here and say, I will openly admit as a leftist to wanting to use this gas crisis to invest in renewable energy.
You're not a leftist. Don't ever say that again. I hate gatekeeping and puritanism as much as any real leftist. But for fuck's sake, I am totally gatekeeping this bitch. She is not a fucking leftist. Not at all. Not at fucking all. Jesus Christ. As a leftist. Man, you're as left as a right-hand turn lane.
Because it's what's necessary for the long-term goals of the country. But I'm also not going to sit here and say we're going to magically build solar panels tomorrow, because that has a longer tail on it, the same way that opening up drilling
What about
does.
our utterly ridiculous, foolish Saudi Arabia policy? Aren't they supposed to rescue us in this event?
Well,
that was
no.
the whole point of blindly appeasing and...
Well, it hasn't worked.
No, it
Oh,
didn't.
shut the fuck up. Don't make it like as if like you aren't a fan of our relationship with Saudi Arabia and how fucking naked we are in their bed. Come on, dude. Your people have been sucking off Saudi Arabian oil lubed cock for fucking decades. Okay? Shut the fuck up, dude, with this fucking is it Saudi Arabia supposed to save us right now? Like, you know, like, isn't that the whole thing? With this tone of like animosity or whatever, or skepticism. Shut the fuck up, dude. Don't get me wrong, plenty of Democrat Manchin is a good fucking example, are big proponents still, with all of the irrefutable, somehow refutable, but irrefutable evidence for climate change. Still so many a Democrat, capitalistic as many of them are still proponents for fossil fuels in the coal industry. Your people, however, whoa. Whoa.
Well,
That was the
no.
whole point of blindly appeasing and...
Well, it hasn't worked.
No, it didn't work.
You see what you get from kowtowing to, bad faith actors that we never should have been in bed with to begin with, letting them kill American journalists with impunity and turning tail and pretending like that sort of thing didn't happen. And there's still, look, there's a global realignment happening where a lot of these countries are realizing that America's days are numbered. And America pushing this conflict with Ukraine, talking about how it would intervene against China if they were to invade Taiwan, really setting up the stakes for a real global shift where countries increasingly are saying we're not going to follow America's lead into all of these conflicts anymore. We've had people on the show talk about how the global South broadly is not supportive of the world war in Ukraine. You had reporting, I think, in the New York Times a couple of days ago that had really weird framing about the potential famine that's coming down the pike and how Russia is somehow the bad actor for wanting to sell Ukrainian grain to Africa to ward off this famine. Like somehow Africa should starve because it helps America win in its efforts against Russia. I mean, this is where we are.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's undeniable. It's undeniable that despite all of this, Americans are continuing to suffer. According to a survey from nonprofit Parents Together Action, almost half of families with kids don't have enough to eat, especially after the child extended tax credits expired in December.
I'm sorry, hold on, real quick. Honest question. What the fuck does this have to do with gas prices? If the segment centered on another period of recession and that the people need bailed out, then why name your segment "Gas Prices Double Under Biden Averaged Nearly $5 a Gallon"? Why would you call it what? Why would you call it? What does this have to do with anything? And not only that, dude, but don't like discuss this with your conservative co-host here like as if he gives a fucking shit. We just had mass shootings, one of which killed 19 kids and 2 teachers. And they place more importance on inanimate objects than real live children, some of which have had to have closed casket funerals or were so hollowed out by bullet wounds that they had to get filled in their caskets and prettied up much more professionally than other deaths by morticians and stuff. And yet, nearly half of families with kids can no longer afford enough food 5 months after. Like, the Republicans don't give a shit about the child tax credit. They never did. They like, whatever. It's dumb. This is a dumb point.
Half of American families, forget about Africa for a second, half of American families don't have enough to eat. 1 in 5 kids were food insecure even before this economic.
Here's the thing, too, bitch. Listen, hold up. If you if you're concerned about American families, and then you're like, forget Africa for a second, you know, like with the rice thing that you mentioned earlier, like, dude, if you want child hunger to stop, and you want families that are affected by the child tax credit expiring to be better off, then why aren't you talking about taxing the rich and the wealthy and the powerful? These 600 and some odd, almost 700 billionaires in this country who have an unfathomable amount and access to resources that the other 99%, 98% could only dream of. Why aren't you why isn't this part of your segment right now? Maybe it's coming up. Let's hold on. Let's be charitable for a second. Maybe she's going to mention the fact that Jeff Bezos alone could end child hunger with the amount that makes up his net worth.
And yet we have money available at the drop of a hat, $40 billion to send to Ukraine. And people are asking the question, why not us?
Yep. It's always defense. There's never any hesitance. There's never any, whatever they need.
And let's be clear real quick too, motherfucker, okay? The only reason why this other guy right here is at all.
There's never any hesitance.
The only reason why this other guy at all is like against the whole Russia-Ukraine conflict is because, I don't know, maybe what demographic makes up Russians and Ukrainians? But if this were Afghanistan or Iraq, if we went back in time to where we still believed weapons of mass destruction were accumulated by Saddam Hussein.
Yep, whatever they need, endless supply. You know, it's how can you take our government seriously when anytime.
But I thought you wanted small government. I thought that's what you guys are all about. Like you don't like big government, and you want them out of our lives. But yet you're being all like, you know, what is the government doing? There's so many American families that are like starving to death right now because the child tax credit like expired, even though like my party was totally not for it, and you know, people, you know, the free market and stuff, you know, the free market fix everything, yada yada yada, bullshit. Oh, capital. Shut the fuck up. Shut up, you insincere fuck, with your quaff and shit. The fuck is this? The fuck is that?
How can you take our government seriously when anytime someone else somewhere in the world says we're fighting a revolution here? Okay, yeah, funded.
Yeah, look,
are you pro-America? Funded.
I don't mean to be
You
historian.
don't even have to be that pro-America. You just have to be anti other people we don't like as much.
Right. Look, I mean,
then when you turn on America later, you're well supplied. You're well equipped.
Yeah, I mean that's literally the case. It's
the phenomenon that duplicates itself over and over again.
It's the Marshall Plan.
First of all, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Jesus Christ, let her speak. Second of all, don't speak. Brianna Joy Gray, are you seriously agreeing with a conservative right now? You know that everything that they say leads to one of the worst outcomes for a nation possibly conceivable, right? Why?
Going to Europe and rebuilding it, as you know, we should have done arguably in the wake of World War II. But now we're looking at countries where we helped to set up a universal healthcare system. We set up all of this amazing infrastructure they were able to rebuild. And then our country is still infrastructurally in the place that it was in the middle of the last century. We have people who are, you know, in this kind of media crisis and subject to a lot more, you know, suppression of speech, et cetera, because they don't even have access to the internet and broadband where they can find their own news. They're in the middle of the country with limited radio stations at their disposal. You know, this is the country that we live in. And Americans, I'm curious to see if even conservatives are going to start asking the question, why is it that there's never any, how do we pay for it? As a question asked about the military spending as we send these, you know, 4 new missile launchers off to Ukraine at $5 million apiece. Why is there so much hand-wringing about any domestic spending on our own American children, half of whom literally cannot afford enough food?
Because that's socialism, Brianna Joy Gray. That's fucking socialism. That's big government. This is so dumb. What does this have to do with gas? What does this have to do with gas?
The Republicans always complain about high. I mean, I can't take any Republican seriously. I mean, ever again. Who's like, oh, the debt, oh, the spending, it's out of control. But what are you going to do about it? Because then when they are in power, there's no hesitance to spend recklessly whatsoever, including and especially on defense, where we could.
Your side, when confronted with the argument that FDR spent our way out of the Depression and it worked, you still debt and deficit hawk like a motherfucker. All of you motherfuckers on your side keep doing that. What are you trying to say? It doesn't make sense. That's not your party's position. So why are you bringing up the debt as if what are you trying? I don't understand. I don't get it.
Easily make cuts recklessly whatsoever, including and especially on defense, where we can easily make cuts, 50% cuts, at least.
The left has been making the point for a long time that the narrative around how spending works and the idea that the national budget is commensurate, is comparable to one's own household budget in terms of needing to not spend over what you take in, has never been true. And it's being demonstrated at a national level right now, with the way spending has happened in the course of the pandemic and now. And it will be interesting to see who wins that narrative war. Is it going to be conservatives who attribute inflation to that spending, wrongly, I would argue, because it's a combination of supply chain issues and this corporate gouging? Or will liberals and leftists be able to stick some kind of landing where they say, look, you're able to spend all this money on things that advantage the military-industrial complex. Can you please start spending some of this money on our kids? Because it really isn't a budget issue. It's a moral issue, and it's a policy choice.
I think, like a household, we should spend within our means, but we should be more thoughtful about how we spend. We don't need to spend money on every other country before our own, especially on war making and nation building elsewhere. You're right that unlike a household, like a household, you can spend beyond your means and you can do all sorts of shady things and eventually get yourself in greater financial trouble, which we are doing with our currency over time.
It's not a shady thing. That's not how national debt works, and we should definitely have an economist on to talk about why exactly that is.
But they'll just, you can have a lefty economist who'll say what you've put on. You can have a more normal, non-lefty economist who will say what I've said.
Even conservative economists, they don't have any issue with the idea of printing money, and they obviously support doing so exactly in these kind of military implications. The only people who really deficit hand-wring are people who are not economists, people like Joe Manchin, who couldn't balance his own bank account on his houseboat probably if he tried. But coming up, New York is raising the minimum wage to the minimum age.
Oh, okay. That was a shit show. Wow. Okay.
Okay. All right. Wow. What happened? So they talked about gas prices for like 3 minutes, and the rest of it was just, everything else has nothing to do with gas, and that could be explained away. Okay. So there are a couple different links I pulled up that at least looked interesting. Anyone correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like these might explain things a little bit further. There have been some Facebook posts, apparently, that say that gas prices were way higher in 2008 under Republican President George W. Bush. Okay, so apparently, according to this fact check, it's half true. President Joe Biden has faced a lot of criticism from Republicans for the rise in gasoline prices since he took office. But the left-wing social media account Occupy Democrats claims that under one Republican president, prices were far higher. You won't see this on Fox News. Gas prices were way higher in 2008 under Republican President George W. Bush, Occupy Democrats wrote on a Facebook post. The post included 2 images of gas station price signs labeled 2008 and 2021. The post was flagged as part of Facebook's effort to combat false news and misinformation on its news feed. Facebook is not that reputable in that, but okay. We're not sure where or when the photos of gas signs were taken, but they do accurately reflect the gasoline prices that were in effect at the time. Statistics from the U.S. Energy Information Administration back up the claim about prices. During the past 20 years, the highest gas prices occurred in July 2008, during the Bush administration. But the statement leaves out important context. Some of the lowest prices of the past 20 years also occurred during the Bush administration, which included both post-9/11 economic slowdown and the 2008 Wall Street crash and financial crisis. There's probably some context behind that I can only imagine would explain that. Indeed, gas prices have fluctuated within and across administrations with little correlation to which president or party is in power. As with most things, the price of gasoline is determined not by the president, but rather by the state of the economy and the balance of supply and demand. Following our inquiries, Occupy Democrats changed its post to reflect this. Occupy Democrats co-founder Rafael Rivero told PolitiFact that the point of its original claim was to highlight the context that it says was missing from critiques of the Biden administration. The fact that prices were at historic highs during the Bush administration is conveniently ignored by the chorus of Fox News anchors blaming Biden for today's rising prices, Rivera said. Today's gas prices are around $3.32 a gallon, up from $2.37. Wait, hold up. I'm sorry. Did I read that right? I feel like I just had a stroke. That's still well off the peak of about $4.11 in July 2008. But Bush's term also included two major economic shocks that sent gasoline prices tumbling. The first one was the 9/11 attacks in 2001. By the end of that year, gas prices were around $1.07. I can only imagine how happy that would make me. The other was the 2008 mortgage crisis and Wall Street collapse near the end of his second term. By the time Obama took over, gas prices were down to about $1.83. While the health of the economy influences the demand side of the price balance, global supply is largely controlled by the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, said Patrick DeHaan, head of petroleum analysis at GasBuddy. I've used GasBuddy before. It's actually a very helpful app. OPEC tries to control the price of oil by either increasing or decreasing production to keep the price oil stable. In 2001, the average price of oil set by OPEC countries was around $23 a barrel. That low price incentivized more consumption, and global demand began to rise during Bush's second term. People became so accustomed to low energy that they made long-term decisions based on that. People were driving big cars. People were living hours away from work in some cases. By the middle of 2008, USA Today reported oil prices spiked past holy fuck, $147 a barrel. Wow. Due to rising tensions between the US and Iran, as well as supply disruptions in Nigeria and Brazil, that's when prices hit their peak, above $4 a gallon. Then came the crash, followed by another recovery under President Barack Obama's administration that sent prices back down toward the $4 mark in 2011 and 2012. In November 2014, in order to compete with production in other countries like the US, OPEC changed its policy to produce as much oil as possible and flood the market, which led to very low prices. Those low prices continued into the Trump years until OPEC once again adjusted its policy to raise prices. Now, why are they up now? March 2020, the pandemic hit and oil demand plummeted. Under President Donald Trump, prices ranged from around $180 near the start of the pandemic to $290. Because Americans stayed home, the price of oil plummeted into negative territory. Ooh, for the first time ever. Referring to the price of crude oil futures contracts. Demand for gasoline was down 60%, and along with it, the price of oil crashed. That led to job cuts in the oil industry and a decline in production. But demand recovered quickly because of optimism surrounding the COVID-19 vaccine, DeHaan said, and producers haven't been able to ramp back up as quickly, leading to another spike in prices that continues today. Was that Trump's fault? No. Was that Biden's fault? No. After PolitiFact's inquiry, Occupy Democrats modified its post to add that point. The truth is that presidents have little, if any, effect on gas prices, which are dependent on the price of crude oil, which is determined by global supply and demand. Capitalism, yay. High gas prices in 2008 weren't really Bush's fault, just like rising prices today aren't Biden's fault. Okay. US gallon, let's do that. Okay, so this is 2 days ago. US gallon, US dollar, okay? Now, where are we at? Where are we? There we are. USA, I'm guessing this is the average. Five 5.037. So, give or take around $5.04. And then look at the rest of these countries, starting from here, Hungary, and going down after that. Wow, that's a lot of fucking countries, isn't it? It's a lot of fucking countries, isn't it? Oh wow, that's actually the bigger half right there. Wow. Imagine that. Imagine that. Now, let me ask you something. You know, you're probably of the mind that, you know, Biden is like secretly Hillary Clinton's Satan soul. You know, and he's obligated religiously, devilishly, satanically to feed it adrenochrome in order to keep it up, and he has power over other countries' gas prices. You're stupid. The reason why you're stupid is because we don't have control over over other countries' gas prices, just like Biden has no control over U.S. prices, as we just discussed in that article. Can we put this shit to fucking bed and stop with this, please? Please. Please, can we put this shit to bed? Real quick to end this off. I also want to talk about, not too long ago, having to end a friendship with someone. I'm going to tell you why. I had to end a friendship with somebody who I've been friends with for a couple of years. And really, ultimately, he's a good guy, you know. He's a conservative. He's probably more center-right, like leaning more towards moderate. But he's more so conservative than he is liberal, for sure. He'll even tell you that. But, like, all in all, generally speaking, he is a good person. He's got some dumb fucking ideas, though. With such an unearned fucking confidence with it, too. I had to unfriend him on Facebook and block him. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't do it. Every single time that there was something going wrong under the Biden administration thus far, somehow it's Biden's fault. And this is the last straw. He said something along the lines of, you know, because he's got like a big fucking truck and shit, and he posted a picture of the final price of filling up his tank, which was almost $108. $108! That's a pretty big fucking gas bill for his fucking vehicle. Not home gas, drive gas. $108. It's a lot of fucking money. I would also complain about it, but I would at least put a spin on it to provide some perspective, which he did not. And it pissed me the fuck off. I put down somewhere in the comments, basically saying there is currently precursor after precursor that only point in one direction as far as trans people are concerned. And that direction is unequivocally, inarguably genocide. These people have made their messaging so clear how badly they want every trans person to be fear-mongered back in the closet or killed. But gas prices. Gas prices. Yeah. Yeah. Sure. We have little kids over in Ukraine right now who are playing soldier, or at least here in America, what we would call playing soldier, except for the fact that they're really practicing. If America was invaded by Russia and we were fighting day in, day out to make sure that they did not come out victorious, and that we came out still the United States, that we did not lose to Russia, and you saw children, American children, playing soldier during this, it would not seem so, oh, boys are gonna be boys, they're just playing. But gas prices. Gas prices. We have a mass shooting, it seems, every fucking week. Some of them with manifestos about great replacement bullshit. But gas prices. Gas prices. Tucker Carlson causing stochastic terrorism, and people taking AR-15s and cutting children in half after shooting their grandma in the face. Gas prices. Gas prices. Times suck right now, economically. There is no denying that, and I'm not invalidating that. But for fuck's sake, can we shut the fuck up and think with our hearts for a second? And logically, because no sticker on the fucking gas pump, I did not do this with Biden's face. Biden did not do this. But think with your heart, too. There is more important shit going on than how much you're killing the environment. That's the other fucking thing. Shouldn't this be a rallying cry? Shouldn't this be evidential to how badly we need renewable fuel, as in electric vehicles? Thank you, Tegma.
Tegmat cheered. X100.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, dude, it's just really fucking stupid. It's really fucking stupid. You know, we really need to, and this is why I said in the Facebook comment too, we really need to stop acting like little spoiled brat ass bitch babies. You know, I don't usually like this argument because it usually comes from conservatives, and, you know, with this air of like, you know, what they're really saying is, you know, we got it so good here, they're starving kids in Africa, which equals, we got it so good here, why try to be better? Why try to be better, right? No, fuck you. No, we can do better, we should do better, we must do better, no matter how good we got it here. But for fuck's sake, dude, gas prices, not only are you wrong about why it's happening, you're also wrong about why you're upset about it. Jesus fuck, dude. Again, like we just had 19 children killed for no fucking reason. But one reason being an 18-year-old could get 2 AR-15s. Just like a 13-year-old, as we watched 2 nights ago together, a 13-year-old couldn't buy a scratch-off lottery ticket, couldn't buy cigarettes, couldn't buy booze, couldn't buy fucking porn, but could buy a rifle at a gun show.
Then we stop at the convenience store to see Jack try to buy beer.
No.
The cashier can't believe he even tried.
Literally, he looks like he's 12.
At the next store, Jack tries to buy cigarettes, with no luck.
I'm so sorry I can't sell you a cigarette.
Later, he strikes out trying to buy Racy magazine.
You have to be 18 or older.
All right, okay, thank you.
And then lottery tickets.
Can I get a couple scratch-offs?
How old are you? You got your ID?
13.
You what?
I'm 13.
You can't get no scratch off, babe.
Okay. All right, thank you.
It's laughable to everyone here, the idea that we'd ever expose a 13-year-old to the dangers of a lottery ticket. But then we arrive here, at the gun show.
It should shoot pretty good for you.
I'll take it.
Within minutes, the 13-year-old easily and legally bought a .22 caliber rifle from a private seller and walked away with it.
But gas prices. Conservatives, y'all bitches need grounded your fucking room if you're gonna keep acting like the fucking children that you are. Should be fucking ashamed of yourselves.